Howdy all, Mr. Callen here on e-learning for Wednesday, April 15. I'm going to scroll down below. Some of you might have seen this, some of you might not have. That's okay. Want to briefly review the Google form exit problems from Monday, from 2 days ago. And that was talking about surface area of spheres. How are all the problems similar? How are they different? And describe a step-by-step situation for that. So I want to go over some student answers. First of all, how are all those problems similar? Well, many of you, several people said, well, they're all surface area of spheres, which kind of follows up on the next person that said these are three-dimensional shapes. Several students said they all use the same formula, 4 times pi times radius squared. And you could say that down here. Many of you said they use the pi symbol. And then they all have the same formula. Some needed an answer rounded to the hundredths place. And this one leads perfectly into the next question. They all either have a radius or a diameter, but then how are they different? Many of you talked about that radius of diameter. Let's start with the obvious. Props to those of you that said they all have different numbers. That's a good starting point, so don't think that's too obvious. That is a good place to start. Different radius or diameters each time. Radius or diameter listed, sometimes diameter, sometimes radius. I like this person that went further and said some already have the radius. For others, that would require you to take the radius, find the radius, dividing the diameter into 2 parts. So that person got even more specific. Well done to that. And then a few of you mentioned the units, measuring feet, inches, etc., different units, inches, kilometers, but I'm going to be even more specific. While I agree that they all have different units, we would not measure surface area in feet or inches or kilometers. Instead, we would measure it in square feet or square kilometers. How many square kilometers of grass cover the earth? How many square inches of wrapping paper would be needed to wrap up that birthday gift? So props to those of you that notice the units are different, but I'm just going to be much more specific and say it should be square feet or square inches. Now, step-by-step instructions, there were so many good ones that I had a hard time listing them all out. So let's review. This person listed, first you need to make sure you write out the formula. Yes, you may use your formula sheet for the quiz and beyond. Then you need to write out the equation. Make sure you put 4 in the beginning, add the pi symbol, and then the radius squared. Thank you for writing that. Another pi symbol because we're going to cross off the first pi symbol. We'll talk more about that in a bit, perhaps. Multiply 4 in the radius squared. Once done, write as the answer with the pi symbol here. Then multiply the answer by pi to get an approximate answer. Ooh, I like that word. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. This person, similar stuff. First, look at the reference sheet, write down the formula, insert the radius, move the pi to the back, multiply 4 in the radius, and multiply the number you get by pi. I like this next person. They do it in A, B, C order. And also, I got to find out from, I think this was Josue, how to write that pi symbol in there. I think Josue was the only person to write the pi symbol into the Google form. First, find the radius. Next, using the formula. Substitute, like that vocab. They shortened it, but they did use substitute. Radius for r, another good vocabulary. And then, again, this person writes approximate answer. Find the equation, get the radius, multiply it all together. Then you put your answer in 2 different ways, one with pi and one without. So for the couple answers above that said approximate, when you multiply the pi, we cannot sit there and write a crazy, ugly, irrational. It does not terminate. It does not repeat. It would go on forever. That's why we would call that an approximate answer in decimal form. If you leave it with the pi and do not multiply it by the pi, that's going to be the exact answer. For instance, you could write 100 times pi as an exact answer, or you could write 314.16, but that would stop, so that's going to be an approximate decimal. About the same amount, just 2 different ways of writing it. All right, with that in mind now, you are welcome to, again, this is right at the bottom of the overview for the day. If you want to pause, go back, read through it at your own pace, or even go back to Monday's video now that some of you are saying, oh, okay, I see those similarities. I see those differences. Okay, now that person's step-by-step instructions really helped me. Perhaps you want to do some extra practice. And when you're ready, head back to Google Classroom, take the quiz, and do well.